Shut the fuck up. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Super Suck Hour Clubhouse Edition. That's right. We got all the big intellectual shit out of the way, and now we're going to talk about what really matters. My name's the Super SUCKLORD, and I just want you to know that if you've been enjoying these last episodes and you want one next week, you better pony up to the Patreon account, or else you're going to have to go a week without. Go to patreon.com/thesucklord and pledge $1 or $100, and you get to see exclusive content. So next week, no suck hour for you unless you pony up, motherfucker. Fuck you. This shit don't pay for itself. Don't be a cheap ass motherfucker. Come on, pay me. All right, we're back in the studio with our esteemed guests, Mr. Lars, sidekick. He's going to continue on that incredible discourse we started next week. J-Corp on the couch now because we might want to sex it up, and she's a woman.
I'm here.
And Buff Monster,
right.
Still in the house. Now we got a different view of him, and he's brought a lot to the table thus far, and we're going to milk him for all he's worth. All right, I want to just kind of pick up where we left off, but before that, you brought some bag of shit. You brought some stuff, and you've been crying about it.
Of course,
so
it's a Buff Monster shopping bag.
I admire you for how branded all your fucking ephemera is.
Well, yeah, the tape is too.
The tape is great.
Your packaging tape is
tape
branded.
is fantastic.
I think it's brilliant.
It costs about the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well,
yeah, you
why
suck
not?
and you're a dick, but your bags and tape are amazing.
Well, I was coming over here. I haven't been to your studio in a while.
I know, you love it here.
So I thought that I should bring some goodies. So I brought a copy of the book because I don't think you had a copy of the book.
Oh, the Stay Melty book. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So I'll sign.
Cool.
I'll sign that for you. I'll sign that. Right?
Yeah. Hey. Cool. Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that.
And then also because it's all the
that.
rage, I brought some enamel pins which I thought you'd appreciate.
Oh.
So there's a bunch.
Send them around. Send them around. I never.
Yeah. I figured there's some people here that would want things.
These enamel pins are all the rage now.
You want to take those, Jake?
I have.
This is interesting.
I have 10 coming out. Why?
Because we are coming out of the digital euphoria, or that kind of swoon that society has done for digital and everything. All
Now we
digital.
want analog again.
People want tangible objects again. The pendulum swings. It's like when everything had to be made out of plastic in the 70s, 80s, and then suddenly
people
that
got back into wood and metal
and a variety of materials. And so I think we're getting back into the tangible.
Well, I don't think we're there yet. I think it's still swinging.
It's swinging in that direction, and
swinging
things
like my
that
dick.
you can't hit print in your inkjet printer at home or your LaserJet. Things that are on.
Why didn't you make the lines black? Why are they metal?
I mean, that's specific to the thing. I mean, I use black lines and everything, but for a pin, it should be metal lines. And I could get black metal, but I don't want black metal. I mean, silver metal, it's a thing.
No, you like math metal, right?
Math metal, yeah, right. But to your point, I've always thought for a long time that as our lives become increasingly digital, like every aspect of our life has some sort of digital part to it, that, increasingly handmade things are going to be that much more sought after.
Right.
And that's part of...
Are they?
Yeah, and that's part of, like, my paintings are, like, I take a lot of care to make them, like, really, intricately executed. And that's, again, because it's, like, it's a man-made thing. So how good can it be? People think it's done in Photoshop or, like, whatever. But, they're done by hand. And I think, once you see it in person, it's like you can appreciate this physical thing that's been labored over.
This goes into the whole thing of difference between decoration, ornamentation, industrial design, and art. Meaning, there's a level of kind of coarseness or roughness, or for mass production, or quickness to design work that is done for the mass market. Soulless too.
Nobody gives a shit, do they?
We do.
This guy.
So the fact that you're taking more and more care into the object, into the line width.
How much motherfucking care is he putting into this pin that he just shit out in some factory?
Me?
You didn't hand make this fucking pin.
It took to draw that
Yeah, but you didn't make. Yeah, but you didn't make
like
the hand make the fucking pin.
No, but you didn't hand make the cards. I mean,
I kind of did. Someone did.
The packaging,
A machine made this thing.
Yeah, the machine made those.
I mean, it's just a thing. Who cares? It's just another. It's objects. It's mass material. Who fucking cares? It's
No, I don't
meaningless.
think so. No, I don't think so.
You said something before,
Okay.
which I want to build on now because I think it's inherently relevant. We ended the last episode where you compared collecting to S&M.
Well, the process of collecting has a component
There's
in
a
it
masochism
of
to
suffering,
collecting.
masochism to collecting, which is there's an anguish of collecting and pursuit of something that is unobtainable or difficult to obtain. So it's challenging, it's hardship, it is effort that can be painful at times, either financially painful or you have to get in a car and drive down
Wait online for 5 hours.
like the piece that you dropped with JK5, the pencil
Creactivator.
Creactivator.
A zillion years ago.
It was announced it was only going to be at this event at this place, and I got like a 4-hour notice. So I haul ass in the car to drive down
that's
to that
insane.
thing,
Why
and I
would you
have the
do
pink
that?
and the blue, and so because there is that kind of
That's one of the most sought after psychedelic figures of all
I've got
time.
both colors, and because I went down and was one of
But
the
the
three
thing is,
people
you
that
were
bought it.
insane. Like
Yeah.
you. Let's get this straight. You were living in Rutland, Vermont. That's
Right.
like a 4-hour drive from here.
Right.
And you got a notice day of, like, this thing by some
In 5
asshole
hours,
named
yeah.
the Sucklord is putting out a limited edition piece of bullshit at this asshole store.
Only 5 of each.
5 of each, and you stopped what you were doing
Yep.
and got in a car and drove down there like a maniac to buy this fucking thing. Who gives
And I
a
sweated
shit?
bullets.
Why would you
I
do
sweated
that?
bullets
Why
because
would
I
you
was
do
afraid I was going
that?
to be late. In fact,
It's
Well,
I got the
insanity.
last set. I was like
It's
5 minutes
fucking
ahead of the next
insanity to
guy
me.
who was going to get that
Gives
piece.
a fuck.
Because
Why?
there's a joy in meeting the challenge and succeeding, and there's an anguish in failing. And the anguish
And
in
you
failing,
do you enjoy the anguish?
the anguish in failing just gets you either get off the boat
or you
or
double
you work
down?
hard, double down for the next one, because then the joy is twice as sweet when you do succeed. And if it's easy, there's no satisfaction.
So
if it's
that
easy,
relates
there's
to then
no
in
joy.
an S&M scene, like pleasing your master, or
Well, it's a case of where the complaining of, oh, this is hard, this is difficult, this is painful, whatever, but in reality is you crave that sensation of the suffering to obtain the joy that comes later.
well, why would anyone want to do that?
Something inherent in our wiring. That's the interesting
But not
question.
everybody goes for that shit. Only certain
True.
types.
No, but I think, collecting is like for some people, but I think for other people it's like sports, right? Like sports is really selling like disappointment, with like little
Sports
specks
is
of like
terrible,
we
but
won.
great.
Well, that's a passive kind of audience thing which is what our politics has gotten into now, where my team,
Well, yeah.
my team, and it's sports, and the sports metaphor has become incredibly large in society right now, and so I think the need is to get back into where more participatory, where everybody plays
where
sports instead of
basically-
watching sports.
Right, and their way of playing sports is buying our shit.
Right, exactly. It is a well. Right, look at Pokemon Go. That thing has just blown up like crazy, and you're not even getting a tangible object, but it is a chase and a pursuit, all contrived, all arbitrary. I'm playing it. I'm up to a level 9
And you're a
player
grown
right
ass
now.
man.
Yeah, I'm running around getting because I
Yeah.
want. There was so much buzz about it right at the beginning. I said I want to see what this is about, so I can actually understand the conversation that's going on around this Pokemon Go, and it's fascinating. I mean, there's a whole situation in that where collectors will gravitate to certain spots because there are lots of Pokemon there, and it's interesting to watch the dynamic with them because it's almost like the nerdiest ones are forced to kind of come close together, but they're all kind of doing this and kind of, okay, I got to share this park bench with you, but I don't know who you are. And it's a weird, and then others are very gregarious and say, oh yeah, what level are you? Oh, you're that. Oh, there's this Pokemon. So, but they're all drawn to accumulating and capturing all those different Pokemon. It's the
But
same
don't you
thing.
think at the end of the day this is some sort of sad, futile attempt to fill some hole
You're
in
born,
your
you
soul?
live, you die. it's a matter
All
of
right,
how
well then we
you-
could just stop this right now. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. Don't you think there's healthier pursuits than shit like this?
Well, it's a balanced diet, as they say. Yes, there's a need to clothe, feed yourself.
I mean, I
be
feel like a
self-sufficient.
fucking. Sometimes I feel like a fucking drug pusher. When people just like buy their shit.
Feeding
obsessively.
habits.
Yeah,
Feeding
just
their
like
habits.
the weird ass reasons. It's like sometimes there's somebody when you've been glad-handed out the window, right? Where some lunatic who has all your shit gets to meet you in person and is just like, and just so fucking geeked and starry-eyed and just like sort of consumed by this thing. And doesn't that, don't you feel a little awkward sometimes? Just like.
It's creating stuff that's going to resonate with people, right? So if it really resonates with someone, then that's success.
It resonates so much with this guy that like he's not dealing with the emptiness in his own soul because he has melty misfits to throw at that hole.
Yeah, well, what you're saying has a certain amount of contempt for the collector.
That's
Which
Suckloord.
goes
Not
back
a
to you're an
collector.
asshole for
I mean,
buying
I
this
guess it
kind of
just-
thing, which I don't share. I don't have that contempt for the collector.
I don't either.
I actually cherish them, and I think
Yeah.
to me, creating these are like creating little, small Christmas packages. It's like Christmas paper wrapping. I'm into packaging. You guys are into creating, but I feel that packaging is an essential part because it provides a context. It provides an experience, like
it's
a
all about
ritual.
context.
But it's
A
all
ritual.
ultimately empty. That's what I'm saying. Do you have anything? Do you feel inclined? I mean, you don't give a shit about this type of stuff, do you?
No, I mean, I collect experiences. I think that there's, when there's always a chase, that in itself is pleasurable. The chase
Pursuit,
itself,
the pursuit.
the pursuit itself is pleasurable.
Yeah, but you don't chase objects. You chase feelings.
I chase feelings. I chase all kinds of feelings, but it's the same thing. The longing for it is actually in some ways more impactful to your life than the actual obtaining of it. Because once you obtain it, you're like, I'm always in a state of longing. I'm always in a state of like sickness for something.
I've seen those Hong Kong soap operas.
Yes, well,
I've heard
my
the music.
background has something to do with
I've heard the
this too.
music, the longing, the pain.
Oh, it's all
the
about
lack of
longing and
fulfillment.
pain, but it's so fulfilling to be in that state all the time because there's something you can always fill yourself with is longing.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, if you're saying that, like, this pursuit, doesn't really produce any real happiness, there's always, like, the next thing or the next thing or the next thing. It's like, what is that just a human condition to just be constantly unfulfilled?
Well, there's an aspect of entertainment in it.
Because you
which
got to
is
do
we-
something
we
because you're some
choose.
meat bag that has to occupy space for 80 years. So you need to do something. And instead of doing something original, generating something from your own self, you just glom onto this thing that everyone else is fucking doing and fill your life with objects and empty rewards.
Well, what's fascinating is that a few hundred years ago, you had a hardship life. You worked in the coal mine all day long.
Yeah.
And you'd come home at the end of a very long day, have some food,
Eat some
and
bullshit.
and go to sleep.
Eat
There'd be
pootsie.
no lights because the
Your
world
wife
is
was
dark.
ugly, your husband stank,
Right.
your kids sucked.
And you basically were in just a
Substance.
survival, sustenance mode. And we're in a luxury now where we have the luxury to seek
to
entertainment.
squander our time on
Absolutely.
idiotic bullshit.
Absolutely. And that is...
Well, speak for yourself.
yeah.
What? Don't you think the most people with what they do with their free time is not specifically lofty or self-enriching?
And why
it's
judge
just-
that?
I'm judge and jury. I'm Judge Dredd, motherfucker. What I say, whatever.
That was a good movie. Did you see that?
No.
That was good. Did you see it?
Yeah.
It was
I mean, I'm just judging for the sake of argument.
Yes.
Just as a purveyor and a consumer and just like trying to get at the real essence of like what makes people want to do all this shit. And maybe I'm being cynical by looking for something
think?
sinister
You think
there.
so?
But I
Well,
think you need to be a little closer to engage the argument. When you're way out here, it is provocative, but it's hard to discuss when you're that far out. You can be a little closer in on.
I think we got to
mean-
rein it in a little
I mean,
bit.
I'm a Star Wars fan, and I've seen responsible Star Wars fandom, and I've seen irresponsible Star Wars fandom. I've seen people do things that aren't necessarily healthy. I've seen people do unhealthy things to obtain my work, and I'll take the money. I don't care, but it's just like maybe me personally, I'm very tiptoey around that shit because it's like I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a person that's like sort of filling the hole in themselves with things that aren't ultimately going to make them happy. And I just don't think I've never seen a happy collector, like someone who was just so overjoyed with their collection. I've seen people more like burdened by their shit, just like I have all this stuff, I have to insure it, I have to put it in a Mylar bag, I need to put it in a case, I need to go the next thing, it's just like, it just seems like it doesn't ultimately seem fulfilling to collect shit.
That's why I'm an accumulator,
Yeah.
not a collector. If my stuff gets dusty, if that pile of typewriters gets ages, no Mylar bag, nothing for
that's
that.
great, but other people
Accumulating
go
is where
nuts
it's
over
at.
this shit.
I'm a custodian. My Garbage Pail Kid collection, I'm a custodian.
Nitrogen atmosphere on that.
Not that crazy, but
Okay.
certain things like the super rare Japanese Garbage Pail Kids, the
Right.
Bukimi-kun, which is the holy grail of Garbage Pail Kid collecting.
Good for you that you have it.
Credential there. Credential there.
They're in multiple plastic bags. I mean, there's no water going to get to
I guess
them.
that feels
I mean,
good doing all that shit, right?
Well, again, this goes back to like what will last, right? Will we be the ancient Egyptians of the future? Like, what's gonna survive, right? So, like, you know, and things like Garbage Pail Kids that are so near and dear to my heart.
You feel some responsibility to
Yeah.
kind of preserve it.
Yeah.
Well, I had a friend who was a high-end antique dealer, and he was one who woke me up to the sense that, like a chair will go through many owners over time, and you, what you're buying when you buy that chair is not ownership of the chair so much as you are the temporary custodian of it
chair.
to pass it on to the next generation. And it's almost like a torch that's been handed to you to say, okay, now this is entrusted in your care, and take good care of it. And the high value of it is to ensure kind of that you will do that in a way.
And I think if you look at like present day, especially with like Snapchat, something that's going to disappear in 24 hours. I mean, so much of like modern culture is like disposable and blah 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 blah. It's like, you know, having these things that you can like take care of that will like be around for all this time, you know, in the future. Like, I think it's like an interesting time.
It's like going back to the pendulum, going back to the physical of something that won't, when the power vanishes, disappear. Go poof.
Or like when all the computers just shut down.
Right,
Exactly.
The big EMP happens. And
I mean, it's weird. I was thinking about that too. I have a friend of mine that's a little younger than me, you know, and like who's taken an interested in my baby pictures and stuff like that. And it's just like weird looking. Like I have all these photographs that go from like 1969 to like 2003,
which
and
we
then
put
suddenly
into some of the trading cards.
and then suddenly they just stop.
Right.
Whereas my friend has like a very short collection of tangible photographs, and then it's all digital. And it's just like those, they don't have the same power. You know, if you lose your hard drive or something gets wiped out, that's it. It's over. None of that shit has any physicality anymore. And maybe that's better.
There's a charm.
Because you're gonna have to give up your body one day.
Well,
What are you gonna do when you have to give up your body? What are you gonna do with everything that's stored inside of it? Do you have plans for that?
No plan.
Are you gonna take another body?
That'd be weird.
If you died right now, would you take another body?
But we don't even have the technology, man.
Yeah,
Google
yes,
said
we
by
do.
2060, Google said by 2060 you can transplant the human consciousness into a computer.
Yeah, you could, but yes, technologically.
Well, you know, I mean, look,
I'm just saying that you don't think spiritually we have that power?
I think that, you know, every science fiction movie is just like a documentary of the future, right? Like they're all becoming real. We're like living into this weird future.
Yeah, like THX 1138.
And I'm just,
Logan's Run.
I'm not inspired by this weird future we're living into.
I'm just saying you as a consciousness can choose to take another physical form after this particular body
if
is
you believe in
used
rebirth
up.
and
And
reincarnation,
you
so
can
forth.
specifically decide where you want to go. Would you? Where would you go?
I don't know. I don't know if
Or would you not? Would you not reincarnate? The pizza's here.
Yes.
Woo!
So I find that the thought of trying to conceive of what would be pleasurable, you know, in 20 years, 30 years, I think is too daunting a task. And from what I know of the whole reincarnation game, is it's more driven by fear in the bardo, meaning you are averse to things and you're frightened by this, frightened by that, and then you tumble into your next life.
Okay.
And that next life is a manifestation of something you are either attracted to or afraid of that compelled you into that. So I don't think we have the ability to choose and select what's going to be the next thing. I'm going to be wealthy, I'm going to be poor, I'm going to be blonde, I'm going to be this and that.
It seems that that's what would be determined for you, right? That or rather you have no power over it, and it might not be determined for you necessarily, but there is a consequence to, it comes after as a consequence of the accumulation that you've done in the life before.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I would definitely choose for a new body, for sure. Like,
Yes.
I do not want to go into oblivion.
You wouldn't want to do this body. I mean, a male body or a female body?
Oh, I mean, either way, a different body would be great. I mean, I love this, and I've enjoyed it. But if I were to die now, I would love to have a dick and see how that feels. I mean, just to know. And who would choose oblivion over that? Over being able to touch like a new body and be in a new.
Well, that's what they say in the bardo is what compels people to come back. And when you ultimately have let go of all desire, let go of all attractive qualities, things that attract you, that's when you can then say, okay, I'm done. I don't need to go back. There's nothing there. Now you have something is of interest to you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go into the bardo, you will be attracted towards the male side of the room, so to speak. And so that will compel you to come back again.
I see.
Well, speaking of coming back again,
Yes.
I feel like maybe we should get back on topic here.
Okay.
And
Talk about toys.
Well, I mean, we talked about the trading cards.
Yes.
But I wonder if there's some other things that you want to talk about specifically
In
terms of what you do and how you contribute. And
well, thank you. But I think, though, my question is, with this tangible returning to tangible objects and the whole terrain that pizzas are here.
Yes.
Got like a regular, and then we got a pistachio pizza.
Is it gluten free, right?
Yeah, they're gluten free. Oh, what are you guys talking about? No, everyone sit down.
Oh, okay.
Just
Don't
do you
jump on
mind
the pizza?
just plating it and passing it out? Thank you so much.
I'll take the red one.
Appreciate it.
I'll take the
I
red
want
one.
one of each.
yeah, one of each.
I'll take one of each.
One of
They're
each.
both
One
gluten
of
free?
each. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take one.
Yeah,
of
they
each,
use some sort of rice flour. Okay, I'd like to give a shout out to Lasso Pizza, 192 Mott Street here in Nolita, New York City. They gave us this pizza for free.
Yay!
Because we're the
Free
fucking
shirt.
Suck Hour. Thank you. We miss you, Nasty Neil. Apparently, he cooked a tremendous salad, and he had to eat it all himself. So too bad. But we'll see Nasty Neil again in the future. Too bad nobody laughed at my jokes this time. We
It's
miss
rough.
you. We miss
It's
you
rough.
we miss you very much. What were we talking about?
Well, I was trying to get us back on topic, talking about
Oh, what
Tom
topic was
and
that?
what he
No.
does and how he
we
contributes.
oh, I thought we were
moved
talking
into the
about
term.
S&M and ass fucking, but okay. We're not talking about that. It's
Knock
cool.
yourself out.
No. It's cool. Go ahead. I just feel like I think there is a masochism to this shit. I think seeking fulfillment by acquiring material objects is not the way to true spiritual enlightenment.
That's
I think
true.
it is.
Is it?
I mean, I don't know what true spiritual enlightenment you're chasing, but for me, constantly on the run, constantly has something to occupy my psyche about like something that I desire. That fills me up.
Yeah, but I don't desire things. I desire feelings.
Experiences.
It don't matter because
experiences
these
and
things
stuff
that
like
you ultimately acquire represents the adventure
Those are gonna
and the
die
journey
too,
that
right?
you took to get that. And at the end of the day, you're not looking at it like when you look at an object, you don't that you've acquired finally. You're not seeing it in flyer form. You're not looking at the announcement that it dropped. You're looking at this thing and thinking, wow, remember that day when we all like got together and got high and then went to this show and then like stood in line for like however long to you look at that and you're like, oh, that image that you first saw it is no longer in your head.
I don't fucking know. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
You like
Everybody-
fulfillment after fulfillment after fulfillment.
I do.
I mean, it seems that way, right? You're like, that this chase is meaningless. to you,
I
so-
chase things too.
Yeah.
I chase things.
Okay, what are you in pursuit of right now in terms of a tangible object that is lacking in your life right now that you would cross the street to go get? If it were-
Money.
Okay, other than money, a specific toy, or were somebody suddenly tweeted to you, there's such and such. Over
Nothing at all.
Not a single
Not
object.
a single object. No, nothing at all.
Okay.
Maybe like a vintage Luke Skywalker, because I need it for a piece. But like I don't need any object for my own personal thing. If someone told me there's like some weird like fucked up Timothy. I would go out of my way for like some weird shit that was hanging in like a Chinese restaurant for 30 years type thing, like that thing I put on my living room. Not a toy, but maybe some weird artifact, some vestige of old New York, something like that. I might potentially go out of my way for. But
When you were a kid,
gluten-free pizza.
When you were a kid, did you collect anything?
Yeah, I collected everything.
Okay, and when did that stop?
When I started smoking pot.
For some people, it's when they discover girls.
That too.
Oh.
When I got into those pursuits.
Is there anything else you collect besides GPK at this point?
No, that's it.
That's it.
I know, I'm so boring.
It's not that. I mean, you don't need any.
Do you
of that
feel
shit.
satisfaction in being? to
I
just run
I
things?
really appreciate the challenge, and I have so much stuff,
Right.
and so really the stuff I have to go after is like the one of a kind stuff, like the original artwork.
Yeah.
I mean that's where it all started for me, and that's what I do. So going after original
you.
artwork for Garbage Pail Kids, I mean it's awesome.
When
So
I was-
it's limited, no one knows what it looks like. It's not part of the popular thing. Like the finished card, but you don't know the preparatory sketches and the color roughs and all that.
I used to
fun.
do that when I was a music fan. I was really into the Beatles and Led Zeppelin. And after I listened to all their albums, I needed like the outtakes or the B-sides or like the fucking unreleased shit or
Yeah.
all that stuff. Even with the Star Wars figures. Like I got all the shit. Now I need the weird things or the
Yeah. The
prototypes.
bootlegs
or
or-
the bootlegs.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that again part of the sense of challenge, the rising challenge, because you've
But it's like
accomplished all the
smoking
lessons.
crack too. Like you always need a stronger hit
Mm-hmm.
every time. Like the basic shit doesn't do it for you. You need a stronger hit, stronger hit, stronger hit. And it doesn't culminate into anything. You don't win. Like if you run out of shit to collect, you're unhappy. If like the thing you're obsessed with, if the
There's
like,
no end of things to collect.
Well,
or
they
feel like.
you love Garbage Pail Kids. What if you had every single Garbage Pail Kid thing that ever existed? You'd fucking be miserable, wouldn't you?
There's a study that came out that said if you make $80,000 a year, that's the peak happiness you'll be. Any amount of money over $80,000 a year
Won't.
doesn't contribute to your happiness. It's interesting.
What does that have to do with collecting all the Garbage Pail Kids?
Well, because if you had all the money, you'd have more than $80,000, and so you're like,
Would you be
collecting.
sad if there was no more Garbage Pail Kids shit to chase after?
yeah, if
If
it
you
was,
got it all, would you be happy or miserable?
yeah, well, it's hypothetical. You can't have it all.
But just
You
say
can't.
you could.
Was it Alexander the
Hypothetically
Great?
speaking, say you were a billionaire and everything that was ever created around Garbage Pail Kids somehow became available and you could just buy all of it. After
That'd
you
be
had it all,
awesome.
wouldn't you want to kill yourself? Or
No,
you'd like
because
it?
then I'd set up the Garbage Pail Kids Museum, and I'm really trying to educate people and really share that experience with people. And
What a positive ass motherfucker you are.
Was it Alexander the Great who wept because there were no more worlds to conquer?
oh, I don't know.
I think that he hit the end of the world and said you'd
The known
conquered
world.
the known world. And so that's what you're talking about, is the sense that once you've reached the end of a collection, there is no more to collect. Would that be a sad experience or not?
Yeah, I think it would be, but he doesn't.
Well, Dove has a complete Sucklord collection.
But the thing is,
How
this-
happy do you think he is?
well, I don't think he's very happy at all. But the thing is, there's always more shit to buy, and he knows from this point on, because I have a relationship with him, that every single thing I make, I'm gonna automatically save 2 for him. So the challenge aspect of it is completely removed.
yeah.
He doesn't have to chase it. He just gets it without even having to think about it. That seems to make him happy. Would that make everyone else happy if they were a collector?
Oh, it's not that easy for him. It's not that easy for him.
What do you mean?
Like, I know I'm getting queries and emails for things that I'm not even sure exist still.
Like
or
what?
have for elements of Melty Misfits and stuff.
Yeah, he's after some things.
He's after it. And so again, I think it's that mixture of pleasure pain where he senses that his collection is not complete.
No, but the thing is,
And
I
so
think it's
he's-
no. I think you're wrong. I think he's well aware that his collection is way more than complete, and he's not satisfied with it. So now he's trying to invent shit that he needs to collect, like things that don't even exist, in tandem to it.
No, I believe they exist. And in fact, we've had back
Do you
and
have the
forth
paper
over,
towel
like,
that
the-
he used to wipe his face?
No, like we embossed a 2013 NYCC box, or so. I did it arbitrarily because just so I knew which box had those cards. I think 2 were stamped, and I can't locate.
I don't think
one.
I have one.
Right, I think I did it, and then I may have discarded them. I'm on the hunt trying to find these. So it existed. It existed. There's a photograph of it. So the question is now to find a tangible
Who the fuck
example
is
of it.
on that shit?
So I'm thinking that it's actually rewarding in a way, because you were saying that Dove no longer has the thrill because you automatically give him. So in terms of psychedelic collecting, he's set. But in terms of
Maybe I should do him a favor.
Right?
I should do him a favor and make it harder for him.
Possibly.
Obviously, he's like chasing ghosts. It's like, you ever see a crackhead and they have a crack pipe and all the crack is gone, been gone, and then they start heating up the glass to melt all the resin to get that hit, and then even that shit is gone, and they're just like trying to just like smoke the glass itself of the crack pipe to get high, and it's just like it's not going to be a good high, right?
I'm more fascinated by the meth. I saw this up in Montreal, where you would get, apparently, people would get very high on meth on the street.
Good for them.
And then they would start doing these assemblages of small, shiny objects.
Oh boy.
And I came across a few of these in the park, and I didn't know what they were, but you'd see, like, intricate murals and kind of all patterns made
Made out of garbage and
yeah, whatever
by a meth
shrapnel, street shrapnel they could find, but it was all meticulously arranged. And so something about the drug would kick in this OCD effort to make linear lines and curves and things using cigarette butts or
I always thought there was a good side to meth.
and then manifest in these large sprawling pieces that would just be sitting there out in the middle of the park.
It's like such a weird, like I think you're also a masochist when you make this shit too. You know, if like you're making stuff and you're trying to get like a collector to give a shit about it, or trying to get somebody to be as hyped about the new thing as they were about the last thing, and you're like kind of chasing too. It's like you just like creating this narrative or this sort of like image around yourself that just like, so these people that buy this shit keep buying it, and it's just like you're just fucking shoveling this crap out the door.
Isn't that kind of like Dungeon Master with the old Dungeons and Dragons and so forth, where you're creating the environment for people to then explore?
Yeah, but you better make a good fucking environment.
Delicious pizza, by the way.
Yeah, this is like made out of rice flour. How about
Rice flour?
rice flour?
One of the things that we mentioned earlier that stops you from collecting is girls or weed or something else, substitutes.
Life.
But there's also, when you become a creator, it then sometimes stops the collecting part of you.
It's funny though.
Different gauge.
You're right about that. You know, don't get high off your own supply, or
Right.
you're too busy, doing this one end of the circuit. But I've seen a lot of people in the so-called bootleg toy game start out as collectors and then become creators.
Right. And do they keep collecting?
No.
Exactly.
That once they realize, like, hey, I've been buying this asshole's handmade toys for
And I can
a
make them.
year now, and that's cool, but it's like, I can make my own handmade toys, so I'm going to do that, and fuck this guy.
Well, that ruined your business.
Not specifically that. I mean, that was part of it, but yeah, that was a trend that happened a lot. It's like a lot of people realize, I don't have to buy this shit because I can make it myself.
Well, that's part of what I was saying earlier with the swimming
And fuck them.
upstream. Everybody wants to swim upstream, get into the act, become a participant at a higher level. So they are creating now, and they've left that audience or that collector stage behind. I've seen it with a few people with doing the trading cards, which is like Simeon, our friend Simeon Lippman. We did the Art Hustle together as another trading card set, and he saw cards as individual precious objects. This is a Willie Mays rookie card. And he would
Honus
encounter them in
Wagner.
the world as single objects. And I said, things will change
Yeah.
when you come backstage and you see 2,000 of the card. It changes something in your psyche when you see how it's produced, when you see how the sausage is made. And I've seen it now happen with a few people. And suddenly, instead of individual precious objects, there are thousands of them on the table. they get dispersed. They go out into the world. They're only collected in that one space for that week at our facility.
And then they're never together.
And
ever
never
again.
together again. And they're dispersed, and then they become precious objects. But until they hit that dispersion, they're not precious objects. There are thousands and thousands of stacks, and they become, and they're falling on the floor, and you know, they're still precious, but they're precious in a different way.
And
they're
only
collectively
potential.
They're right. They're all.
But it's
seeds.
still context, right? Because if we go back to like artwork, you know, if you make a painting in the studio, it's artwork. When you take the painting out of the studio and put it in a gallery, it can still be artwork. You sell the painting, it might still be artwork, but somewhere there it becomes a commodity.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer artwork, you know. So yeah,
It
context.
becomes a possession or an object that has an inherent financial value.
Not an inherent, but a financial.
A financial value, which is
But
what
I think he's also saying just like the mystery or mystique around it is removed when we see how it gets made. Like if it suddenly
the
goes from
right.
a mass, you know, something you consider this weird, revered collectible is really just some piece of shit that was made in a factory when some asshole pulled a lever.
or produced 100 of them.
Yeah,
or
produce
200
100 of them and then
But-
burns like 90 of them.
Well, going back to your point, that's actually been harmful to the art world, as I understand, because there are these massive vaults around the world in tax shelters where they have, like, I think somebody had stated 60% of the world great art is hidden in storage
Yeah,
vaults
yeah.
because they are investments now. And they're too precious to be up on walls or be in somebody's private home. And they're being stored at these special vaults where there are tax-free harbors or shipping zones. So to move them in and out does not engender taxation. And so there's discussion about the greatest art museums in the world nobody can visit because there are these storage warehouses.
Who cares? Let them
That's-
fucking have it. Fuck it. Who cares? There's enough art in the world.
But if
isn't
art
there?
is created to have an audience and to impart a message, and you as an artist, as a creator, okay, so you've created your piece, and you know that one person will pay you, and I've paid you for it, but now I will never let another human
much
being
did I
ever
get
see
paid?
it. What you were asking for.
Yeah, I can live with that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's death.
Now, Buff, you.
Is it?
No,
If
I had a
if I
situation
bought-
like that.
Okay.
I had a bunch of paintings. Someone was gonna buy them, but I wasn't allowed to know who that person was.
Right.
Wasn't allowed to tell anybody who that was if I signed an NDA to get that bit of information. And I just said, too bad, I'm not doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Was the money amazing?
It would have been a good payday, but it's not worth it.
Why not?
Because those pieces would have vanished.
They would have vanished, and again, I'm the custodian of them. We built this database of every painting I made since 2009. Every title, every size, where it was shown, who bought it, what they paid for it. We have this whole database, and if I can't, I have to be responsible for that. You know,
Really?
and these pieces are pieces that are really near and dear to me. And it's just like it's just not going to happen. I'm just going to keep them. I'm better off with me having them than some guy. It's just that are gone. It's just not worth it.
Okay. I personally don't give a shit. I feel like once it leaves my custody, I don't really care. I've released it. I've dismissed it. It's done. I
Well,
don't need to know
I
where it
mean,
is.
I
I know that's not conventional wisdom. Like most artists, like do what you're saying.
No, but it is a tricky thing, right? Because there's things that I can make, physical objects that I can make, and I can covet, and I can take care of. And then, of course, I paint murals where I don't have a say in what happens with them. You know?
Yeah, but
Things
nobody's gonna take the wall and go somewhere.
Well,
with
that just actually happened. Things can disappear. Things
A
get
whole
painted
wall?
over. Yeah,
This-
yeah, the I Heart
Heart
NY
Never?
thing.
Block.
That's just gone. Physically gone. Doesn't exist anymore. So, things get painted over and things disappear when they're not supposed to. And so it's like, I have to live with a certain amount of that uncertainty
Chaos,
with what
that
I
chaos,
do.
yeah.
But, only a certain amount.
I don't know, man. I always feel like once it's out in the world, it doesn't matter what happens.
But is there a compartment in your mind, a compartmentalization of street art, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
ephemeral art,
Yeah.
versus classical art, i.e., oil paintings and so forth?
Yeah, when I paint some in the street, I have a different relationship to it. It's this weird thing where it's like, well, a lot of people are going to see it, but it could disappear at any time.
Right.
And art that I make in the studio is kind of the opposite. Maybe a few people will see it, but it'll probably be around for a long time.
Right. And have a lasting effect.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's cool.
So this is what happens when you have artists come in to talk with you.
Well, no, I mean,
And I'm including myself in that. In this sense, I'm an artiste too, because I'm creating trading cards that I'm expecting people to cherish.
Right.
Yeah, and you have
And-
extensive archives of all the things.
Yeah, I have my archive, and so I have uncut sheets, this and that, of all the ephemera that have spawned out of this. Because, again, it's almost like what you were saying. I feel I have that access, so somebody has to do it. And if
Yeah,
somebody
but
else were...
I feel like I agree. I mean, I love the fact that somebody would give a shit about my ephemera. I have a place where I send my ephemera, you know, when I'm done with it. I just feel like myself as the creator don't want to worry about that stuff.
Right.
It's like if there's somebody to be like, oh, I'm gonna take care of all your shit. Just send me it. Boom, that's cool.
Is that? But that must be some kind of reassurance or security in you somewhere to know that there is this accumulative single repository of all your work, that should the day come where somebody will be able to view it, see it, share it,
Take it seriously or
take it
whatever.
seriously, or for history, it must satisfy or comfort some part of you. Versus if, let's say, that didn't exist,
I never really thought about it.
everything just got dispersed out on the street randomly, and
I would assume that some intrepid soul would try to collect it all together at some
but let's
point.
say it was not possible. Let's
You
say
don't think
it was-
it's possible to put together a complete psychedelic collection at this point?
I think would be I consider myself to have like rank number 4 or 5 collection.
Oh, people do that? They rank their...
Yeah, I mean, do you rank yourself as far as GPK? If you
No.
in your in the
I
top
mean,
10 collectors,
I'm
you?
no.
Are you in the top 10?
No.
Oh, but you rank yourself as what? You think you're number 4 psychedelic
4 or 5
collector.
in
4 or
terms of
5.
the classical stuff. Yes.
Okay, I'm glad you put that much thought
co-
into it.
And no, but I just from my comparison of talking with other collectors I've run into, and looking at their collections, at least talking about, there are 2 that are out there that nobody will ever touch. And then under that, there's about 3 or 4, and we're all kind of, and I'm now starting to fade. Because again, as
need to
I've
get
been
back on that.
focused on my own creativity. What?
Yeah, you need to get
Easy.
back on that.
And, well, I have a couple of things I could come back with, but I'm not going to. I think, though, when you have come up with some stuff that really speaks to me, I've jumped on it. Like the Western
Back in the
stuff.
day, you used to buy it indiscriminately.
Well, that's when I was completist. I was a completist. Now, what's interesting is the difference between anything that is mass-produced has a multiple run versus unique pieces. To me, I'm not interested in unique pieces at all.
You like editions.
I like editions, even if it's only an edition of 5, because it means that there are other people in the game. If there's a unique painting and this is the only figure that was ever made of this,
Who cares?
no, people do care. I'm saying I don't, because then if I have it, nobody else can have it. And that's a kind of a selfish quality that I
And
don't
you're
like.
isolated in that ownership.
And I'm isolated, and it also becomes like a thing where I have to lose for somebody else to gain. It becomes a zero-sum game.
Whereas there's 5 pieces in
Yeah,
addition, then
so-
5 of you guys can stand around and jerk each other off in a
No,
circle.
it means that if there are 5, so there's 2 now. So you can have one, I can have one,
And is
and
he
we
gonna
both
fuck
feel
you in the
good.
ass, or you gonna fuck
So
him
we
in the
feel
ass?
good about each having a copy
That
of
makes
it.
you feel good.
It allows
Together,
more
you
people
feel
in the
good
game.
about that.
Again, we're talking about the social aspect
Yeah.
of collecting and the fact that it's an entertainment and a social currency. But there's a kind of a thing of uniqueness doesn't appeal to me. I know there are people who only want unique pieces. I want to have the only one that will ever exist of this subject. And I can't relate to that. There's got to be an addition so that there's something to maybe something about sharing or sharing the experience that you're experiencing. And now we can relate to each other because we both each own one.
But also the victory is a team victory when it's a limited edition. The acquisition of a unique piece is a single solo victory. It's not the same. You can share the kind of like, oh look, we both got this. Isn't that
Do
cool?
people really do that? Go around and glad jerk each other about?
Yes.
Yay!
Yes, all the time. Like concert tickets. Like people who are like, you were at that show too? Yo, me, I was at that show too. Same thing. I got this object. You got this too?
Well, there's also the trading and stuff comes
Sad.
into that. It's like I there was one of the other serious collectors was missing one piece, the Tibetan, and I had two. Somehow acquired two. So, and he had something I actually got one because I bought it direct from the Tibetan, from the charity group, and the second one I got on eBay, and it was a bargain on eBay. And then, so I was able to swap that one piece that, because they are not, if it had been unique, it would have been a whole different story. But the fact that there were an edition of the Tibetan figure, that were several, I could trade one and get the figure I need.
Great. So now both of you guys had exactly the same collection.
No,
and you went
no,
home
but there are other
alone
differences.
to be alone with your collection.
No, he filled a gap in mine. I filled a gap in his. There were different
You're
gaps.
meaning your soul.
And collection, not the soul.
Okay.
And then outside on the periphery of that core collection, there are different shapes and pieces that don't match. But I'm unconcerned with those because within my within your oeuvre, the entire production that you've ever done, I'm only interested in the carded figures. Bag didn't really thrill me as much.
You bought some.
I bought some, but the carded figures were the ones that I had to kind of like focus down on something that I could wrap my arms around within your. That's why 3A. I'll never collect 3A.
Yeah.
It's just too immense. It's just too much. It's too big a mountain for me to climb.
And it's all kinds of different shit.
It's wonderful shit. I mean, in many ways, I'm gratified by I own one piece. I'm a sampler on 3A to be able to taste it. But I looked at that mountain and said, I know with GPK, there are people who have stopped climbing that mountain with the new releases.
Oh, yeah, I don't collect new stuff. It's only new stuff.
Say why?
Well, I can't think of a faster way to fucking suicidal feelings than any of this shit.
Well, we were talking about like
I wanna
production.
get away from
And,
it.
means of production today are so different than means of production in the past. Right. And so I think that's a really interesting thing. I grew up in the 80s with like skateboarding and stuff. You had a few guys doing these hand-drawn graphics. You had a few silk screeners that was silk screening those graphics on a few boards for a few companies. It was like a pretty limited thing. And these days, anybody can make anything. Any of us can go today, make a t-shirt, make stickers. We can do anything we want. That's weird. It's not, so again, to me, when you're talking about mechanical reproduction, there can still be a soul in there. There's still like it came from a hand. It was produced by a hand. There's still that thing.
Or is made by somebody that is actually established and has something to say and like has some consideration for his aesthetic and it's not just some jerk off that just made whatever. It's like it's a Buff Monster sticker. Even though we mass produced it, Buff Monster is a thing. It's an institution. If Buff Monster himself had anything to do with the sticker, it's going to adhere to some sort of aesthetic credentials, criteria to make it legit. So, okay, I'll buy that. As opposed to fucking, Fluff Mobster over here who is not doing that, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, going back to what you were talking about with the difference with the modern production, the capabilities and stuff, there's also the awareness that we're now creating collectibles. We're not creating something that merely entertains you for a few moments while you eat the bubble gum. I'm talking
That's
about from
true.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there's
There's this hypersensitivity that like everything you make is going to be instantly collectible, whereas like Garbage Pail Kids or Wacky Packs or even Star Wars
was
figures
conceived as
were made for just like the moment and weren't meant to be archived like this. Now everybody instantly archives shit.
But it's a nostalgia thing too. I
Yeah.
mean, like it all just takes you back to your childhood, and it's always about like,
No,
but
but-
you can't relive your childhood. But if you have money, you can buy things from your childhood, and you can have this like quasi experience, right?
Yeah, and it's still totally fake and unfulfilling.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay, let's go back to that point because you are in a mode where you are in quietness. You're feeling no stress. You're feeling no compulsion to do anything at all, and then an urge hits you, an urge to go see that movie, or an urge to go move to Alaska, or an urge
to go buy a psychedelic bootleg.
piece. Right, an urge. So it then creates almost like a commitment to an arc of activity, which will culminate into that. And we are always running multiple arcs of anticipated goal that is in the future that we will then make efforts towards. And sometimes they're paused and sometimes they go. And it is all masturbatory in the sense that the only person who ultimately takes pleasure on it is ourselves for having set our own goal and then achieved it in that sense.
I don't know. As a seller, I take great pleasure in getting the money and getting the fuck out as soon as possible.
So you're the pimp
Hey,
so all these people are
I
getting
mean, yeah,
off.
if all these people are following their so-called trajectories,
Yes.
let them fucking traject away all fucking day as long
Pass
as I
through
get
your
that
window
little
and out
fucking
the door.
PayPal notice that said, hey, this guy gave you his money, put his shit in a box and get it out of your fucking face as soon as possible. Boom, there you go.
So what
and all these other
percentage-
guys flailing about amongst the stars.
So what
Have
percentage
it
of
their
your
way.
creative effort is towards capturing that dollar?
Almost
versus-
100% of it.
versus your own entertainment of your own satisfaction of that there is a crack playhouse or
Well,
this or that.
fortunately, those two things overlap a lot. I don't think I've ever made... I have occasionally made something where I think, oh, I'm going to make this just because it's going to make money, and otherwise I hate it. I almost have never done that. Most of the times when I make something... Well, it's like I got to sell something. If I feel like I need to sell something that I need to make money off of now, it's not some fake ass shit that I hate. It's usually just like, oh, this is some idea that pleases me and I happen to think it's contemporary. Here it is. I'm going to go with this now. And so it's so satisfactory. No, I don't think I've ever made anything like I absolutely felt I hated or was contrary to my core
Or
vision.
contradictory
No.
to that. Okay.
It just so happens that what I do is so completely applicable and universal and consumable that I don't really have to struggle very hard. It's just like
Isn't
if I
that amazing?
Your
Yeah.
finger is on the pulse.
yeah, if I just
want to
wipe my ass one day and put the toilet paper on a blister pack and then
You've
jerk
gotten
off
close.
on it,
Well, Manzoni,
people will buy it. Yeah,
Manzoni did it in 1961. He was an artist. His father owned a canning company, and his father said,
He
"Your art
put
is all shit."
Shit in the can.
So he put his shit in a can, and it was called Artist Shit. I mean, these cans are now selling for about $200,000. The last one went for auction in England, and it was an edition of like 87 cans. And there, I may be wrong on that number, but I know 1961 Manzoni. Google it. But Artist Shit.
That's in really bad taste.
No, that's brilliant. It fucking says it all.
And I'm sure there's crazy condition problems. You can't keep that in mint condition.
One
A can?
There was a
Sure you can.
insurance
No.
Shit's
claim.
less
One of
nuclear
the cans
war.
was not kept in condition. There's always been a debate: is it real shit inside or is it plaster? Is it
You
shit,
have
real shit?
no way of knowing
And
because no one wants
two
to
have
open it.
leaked over time. And yes, it's real shit inside there.
So he took 87 shits.
90 tin cans.
So it
90
took him
cans.
3 months.
With 30 grams of feces.
Yeah,
How big is that?
30
it's only
grams.
about this big. The can, I've seen one.
I mean,
They're
how
about
many
this big
shits
around.
did he
It's
take?
like a-
90 shits, or did he cut them in half?
There's not even a paper wrapper or anything else. It's just like stamped on the metal.
Yeah.
Artist shit. Actually, it's in Italian.
I think that pretty much says it all.
I know. I figured you would.
I appreciate that. You don't.
I just anything shit related. The poo emoji, any of that dumb shit. Like I can't get into
The
it.
poo emoji, you're not even.
Not into. Never used it. Never plan to use it. Not into.
Not
it.
even, when you never text somebody the poo.
Never. Not in my life. I don't like toys that are like, yo, hey, it's shit with that smiley face on it. I'm not into it.
Are you have some sort of like
What was the one from South Park? The little feces.
you have like scatophobia
yeah.
or something like
No,
that?
I just think it's in bad taste. It's like, come on. We have other things we can focus on, other things to spend our attention on.
Shit and shitting are a really essential part of the human existence.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we need to like
Take pleasure in it.
take pleasure in it or
You don't like taking a shit?
or like draw attention to it or like
When you take a
or-
shit, are you feeling good and enjoying or do you try to get it over with?
only
or-
when I think about you.
that's a non-answer. Well, I don't think we answered any burning questions or solved any mysteries of the universe here at all.
Agreed.
I think we just
Was that the goal?
Yeah.
No, the goal was to just circle jerk ourselves.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think
then
we
job
accomplished
well
that.
done.
Yeah, I think we accomplished that. Any final requests? Because this show is over.
No.
All right, so there you go. I hope that was worth your fucking while. I thought that was a good way to spend an hour of your fucking life. My name's the SUCKLORD. This is the Suck Hour. You knew that. Give us money.
Sidekick Lab.
Sidekick Lab at Sidekick Lab at JCorp at
That's
JCorp
right.
TM
Buff Monster.
at
Buff
Buff
Monster.
Monster.
That's right.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you another time. Bafango. All right.